Welcome to today's Career Lounge session. We are so excited to have all of you here with us today. We want to say welcome to everyone that is watching today's Career Live Lounge session, helping you be a greater you. I am your host, Elizabeth People, and this lounge is designed to help middle and high school students prepare for life after school. Failing to plan is planning to fail, and we want to make sure that you have a plan so you do not fail. We are so excited for today's topic. We're going to be talking on leadership styles, and this is going to be really important because you're going to find leadership in everything you do as you go through life. So we're really excited to get into today's topic for leadership styles. But before we do that, we're going to take a little moment to talk about we're going to take a little moment to give a special thanks to our Career Lounge Live session sponsor, that is EXL, and they are a leading data analytics and digital operations solutions company. To learn more about EXL, you can visit them at www.exlservice.com. And thanks to their sponsorship, we are able to bring this lounge to you at no cost. So we're going to take a minute and talk a little bit about who Love Our Youth is. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization providing programs for youth. Our mission is to leverage the power of collaboration to uplift and empower youth and their families within our community. So again, before we kick off today's topic, we want to introduce you to our amazing panelists that are here to talk with us today about the topic of leadership styles. So right now, we're going to ask our panelists to share their name and tell us a little bit about themselves, possibly their current role at the company you're in, or even why you chose your current career. So we're going to take it away and pass it on to our panelists. Who wants to start first? It's always that funny moment where is it me? Is it you? Anyone can start. Just your name and your career information about your job.
I can start first. Hey, everybody. Thank you for having me here today to talk to you. My name is Dana Odell, and I am the Vice President of Client Delivery for EXL Health. Well, you say, well, what does the Vice President of Client Delivery do? EXL is not only a data analytics company, but we also do a lot of things in healthcare where we use our data analytics for healthcare purposes, for healthcare claims, mainly for auditing healthcare claims. So I run a division where I work with a lot of nurses and healthcare coders, where we look at healthcare claims and we see if they're paid correctly. I'm a coder by background. I have my coding license, my certification. I started out in healthcare. I got my bachelor's degree in healthcare administration. My minor was in business, and I've been in and out of the healthcare field for probably 25 years now in various different positions. Anything from working in a doctor's office all the way through billing for providers, like a healthcare provider. So there's a vast range of things you can do in that arena of healthcare. So as you're going through your journey, the healthcare industry is a very large business, and there's many different avenues you can go through to get into healthcare. So.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Definitely a different extension of EXL that I was not aware of. So thank you for letting us know about that extension of EXL. Who would like to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next because we kind of have similar backgrounds. So I'm Dawn Peterson. I am currently the Assistant Vice President over the Risk Adjustment Solutions within EXL Health. And just like, Dana shared that she works with claims and billing, I work in a little bit of a similar subject in risk adjustment. And what this is it's really taking the medical conditions that patients and members of health plans have, and understanding how their chronic conditions impact their ability to be, good partners in their healthcare, but also just making sure that we have a good understanding of the medical conditions of those individuals so that we can get them the care that they deserve at the time that they deserve. And it's a lot of working with data and also working within medical records to ensure that we have that good understanding of the conditions that members have. And it helps our clients to ensure that they have all of the resources that they need to wrap around that member, be it providers like doctors, nurses, as well as folks that help them with their behavioral aspects of how they are active members in their care. So it's really a niche department or discipline. It's not something that people, generally as they're growing up are like, hey, I want to get into risk adjustment when I grow up. You kind of just land there, I think, in healthcare. And how I got here is, I've been in healthcare for 20 years. Prior to that, I spent time in local television. So I actually went to school for mass communications. I was on my path to be an editor of the late night news. I was chasing fires and taking videos and editing, um, you know, editing news clips, and just decided that I needed to switch paths. So I ended up getting into healthcare, into the revenue cycle area. Others call that like patient accounts within a health system. And I really found my home. I was 24 years old, and I felt like this was the path I needed to stay on, because I had the ability to be an advocate. I had the ability to be an advisor. And by 2013, it turned into a leadership journey for me. So I started leading teams of people that were multidisciplinary. So I've had teams of physicians, teams of nurses, coders, as well as analytics folks that can really help us tie the life with data to tell a story, to then give it to someone to make sure that that story makes sense. And then it all, of course, ties into quality as well as revenue, so that we can make sure that we have the funds needed to take care of our people in healthcare. So that's a little bit about me.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I loved how you talked about how what you were doing eventually walked into a leadership role, and the type of projects you're on, as well as the type of people, the colleagues that you're working with on these projects. And it's really going to come out when we start talking about today's questions. I really would love for you to expound on that a little bit more, so that our viewers can see, like, how does that happen? I'm sure that's a question. How do you start a job and all of a sudden now you're in leadership? What does that look like? So we can't wait to dive into those questions. But before we do that, we have two more people to introduce today. So I'm going to hand it back over to you all.
Linda, you want to go next?
Oh,
we don't have audio.
No, we still can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Yes.
Very good. Okay, good. That's good news. We're in good space. My name is Linda Poor. I have been with EXL for about 5 years, but I've worked for a few other companies before EXL. My whole career has been in human resources. And I actually decided very early on, I was looking for a role that was something that would create an opportunity to work with people and be able to do also business aspects. And as I started just talking with folks and interviewing folks about what that looked like and what that meant, HR really seemed to pop out and be a good fit for me. So I've done a little of everything in HR. I've managed large teams, I've managed small teams, I've been an individual contributor on and off throughout my career. So a little of everything, which I think is very common, particularly in a function that's more of a corporate function. So thank you for having me today. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you so much. And I love how you talked about the different spaces in leadership. I think a lot of people think it's always group settings, but I loved how you talked about being that individual as well. And again, that's going to be great for as we jump into our questions today. And you can be able to talk to our viewers a little bit more about that as well. And so last and certainly not least.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So my name is Mike Safransky. Nice to be speaking with all of you. So I'm a senior vice president of strategic accounts. So I'm a senior leader in EXL's healthcare business. How I got here is a little bit circuitous, right? I was a I graduated college in mechanical engineering. You wouldn't think that, I have anything to do with healthcare or data and analytics services or anything like that. But you can reinvent yourself. Um, I decided when I was similar to Dawn, when I was about 25, 26 years old, that I wanted to change. I didn't want to design jet engines and sit behind a desk and do that kind of analysis. I wanted to be out talking to people and, um, driving that aspect of the business. And so I got a master's in business administration, and then I sort of reinvented myself. Along the way, I was employee number 12 at a healthcare services startup, um, and have parlayed that into, a much more substantial career within the healthcare industry. Um, so it's exciting to think about all the different folks that I've worked with and worked for over the years. Um, I think you know as we talk about leadership styles, I think there'll be some exciting ways that we can bring that to life for everybody here, based on our experience. So thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you for that. And that was great because that was right on point to segue into our first question for our panel today. And that question is, what are the different leadership styles, and how do they impact a team? And so, Mike, if you don't mind, I'll start with you since you kind of left us off with that segue.
Yeah, so the way I kind of look at this, there's a handful of really common leadership styles that, if you read a textbook, right, you'll hear about transformational leadership, delegative leadership, authoritative leadership, transactional, participative, servant leadership, right? And I think the style, one of the hard lessons that I learned throughout my career is that you can't just pick one and be that. As a leader, you really have to adjust your style to what your constituents need from you, right? Because at the end of the day, um, it's not about figuring out how to get everybody to adjust to you. It's about how you can adjust to them and get the most out of the team.
Yes, absolutely. That's like right on the money, because I just think about my own leadership process, and I absolutely agree because in different roles you'll find yourself in different roles, you'll find yourself using different leadership styles. And so I think it's a great opportunity to learn all the different leadership styles that are out there. So thank you, Mike, for listing some of those for our viewers so that they're able to then take those titles back and do a little more research to see, where they are now and how that may fit them. Does anyone else have anything for different leadership styles and how they impact the team?
I would say for what I agree with what Mike said is you can't just use one and it's not about you. So I tend to lead as a servant leader. That's how I was taught to be a leader, but it also is how I was taught to be a good human being. Like nobody gets to be the dictator in this. It's really a collaborative and finding the best way to work with people, with process, with technology in the leadership style that meets the need for the majority. That's the way we can move needles. If we cater to maybe the ones that speak the loudest, they might they might be able to like get the conversation started, but they might fall flat on the delivery. So that's when you have to kind of pivot and really meet people where they are as a leader. It's really up to us to just kind of, set our tasks aside, set our wants and needs aside, and really look at what's best for the company, what's best for our people, what's best for our clients, what's best for our processes, and where do we want to take the technology. We have so much technology at EXL to play with. Why not just look through the whole catalog and see instead of just going with what you always did or what's always worked? So it really is a living, breathing, moving, just oversight. It's never going to be set a plan and that's your plan for the whole time. So you really have to be, and I know this is a coined phrase, but you have to be agile to make things work. Agile is not just a way to project manage. It's really everybody has to be in it. We all have to be flexible, nimble, ready to work together for a common goal. So.
Great explanation of that. Um, Absolutely love it. Like I'm listening to you all talk, and I'm just like nodding my head because I'm like, this is all the things that I know about leadership and all the spaces that I've been in, and even with watching leaders, being in certain spaces and watching others lead, and being able to identify, but also watching them make the switch when it was necessary, was one of the things that really taught me how to maneuver in leadership, how to navigate that space. So I thank you for explaining it that way, because it kind of helps us understand how to navigate that leadership space. And so for all of our viewers out there who are possibly thinking about going into leadership positions or know that it's in your future, definitely again make sure you want to know how to best navigate those leadership skills. So it really is a great idea to really research and learn all of them, and so that you know how to work. And I also find that when you are learning about those leadership skills, you also learn more about those that you're leading, because you have to know about them in order to be able to provide a leadership level that works for that team. And so it's really good space to be in. Does anyone else want to add to our different styles of leadership?
Yes. The one thing I can say is that we work with so many different types of teams. That a lot of times, as the senior leaders, we have to give the direction. We have to be the visionaries to help the teams get to the goal that we want to achieve. And that goal can change at an instant. So not only do you have to be a visionary, but you also have to be very collaborative. And certain teams you have could be in different places. So you also have to adapt to what's the skill set of that team, and what's their purpose. And so when you're working with multiple teams, you have to also keep that in mind. So you got to change, right? You could be more in a coaching style, but then go more visionary for like a longer term goal. And then with another team that maybe that's working on the same initiative, same project, you turn into more of a coaching aspect where you really have to lead them along the way, more where other teams with different skill sets, they can get, you point them in a direction and they go. So you have to also know, the capability of the people that you're working with as well.
Absolutely. I think in a leadership position, knowing who you're leading is definitely a key part of being a good leader, and no matter what the style is. Awesome. Linda, do you have anything to add? Did we lose Linda? Linda, are you able to hear us?
I think the only thing I would add, which I think would be interesting to keep in mind, is I believe everything you've heard is great, a great approach and thought about leadership, different styles, different approaches, match to your people. I think overarching all of that is as you increase in your leadership skills, it becomes more and more important to develop your communication skills. And so much of leadership is being a good communicator and really being able to understand what people need, but then being able to communicate information to them in ways that they will absorb it, that they will act on it, like in the visionary space that was mentioned. Just all of those pieces come together and really become super effective when there's really strong communication skills. So I think that's a big plus to add to your leadership.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even today, we're all communicating, together and discussing, this leadership topic. But yeah, communication is a great part of it. So thank you for bringing that up. And walking into our next question for you all, how can a student identify their leadership style? I mean, most of them are still in school. And so what would be a way that for a high school student to be able to actually identify what that looks like for them?
So I think it starts, right. You have to go do a little bit of reading and research, right. You have to be able to identify the different styles, right. So when Dawn mentioned servant leadership before, right, does anybody know what servant leadership is, right? And I think it's important to know what that is, to be able to know it, to know when you see it. So that, I think that's the first part. Then you have many opportunities, whether you're a student or you're out in the workforce. You have many opportunities to see people exhibiting leadership. Do you play on a sports team, right? Well, you have coaches; those are leaders. They're not the only leaders on a football team or a basketball team, right? There are fellow players that play leadership roles on those teams. What style do they use, right? Are they being transactional? Are they, or are they really doing what you need them to do as your leader, right? So I would think about it from that perspective. Look, I would do a little bit of research on, here are some of the prevailing styles. I think we mentioned some of them earlier. Um, and then don't worry about what works for you at first. Worry about just identifying them where you see them. And then, you know, you can emulate the ones that you feel comfortable with or that work for you or work in a given situation, right? Um, Leadership is an interesting topic because um, you're not a leader if nobody's following, right? So you've got to adjust how you're approaching other people, or they won't follow you. You can't make them, right? I think that it happens naturally.
So what I would share to that is one of the best pieces of advice that I received when I became a professional was everyone is a leader, but not everyone is a people leader. Not everyone has direct reports, but everybody's responsible to lead. And my favorite type of leader in the world is an influence leader. So this person is working in your company and they just understand the strategic side of it, understand the operation side of it, and they just see the forest for the trees. They just can see that at the end of the day, this is going to work because X, Y, Z, and then X, Y, Z. So there's always a plan that comes along, and sometimes individual contributors, or those people that do not have direct reports, can become leaders. And I like calling them influence leaders, like influential leaders, because they don't have people kind of directly reporting to them, but they're the first person someone is going to send a chat to when something new comes down to ask, like, what's going on? What is this? What does this mean to you? They're the first person that's going to be, they're ready to advocate for the boss to say, I'm really behind this and I think it's going to be great. How can I help? Or I have these great ideas. Let me share them with you. I think with that, we have to look at leadership not as a position, but as a way that we approach our work. And anybody can be a leader.
Absolutely. I agree. Anybody can be a leader.
Didn't say good leader. You just said a leader.
I would kind of say that identifying what leadership style you are is kind of like a personality test, right?
Yeah.
Everybody can identify with, taking personality tests and, seeing, or even like, zodiac signs, things of that nature, right? So, what type of person are you, right? So, and when you read through the different types of leadership styles, you're going to be drawn to certain things where you see something in yourself you identify with, right? So, I mean, I would say for somebody trying to establish what type of leader they could be, that's probably what's going to pull you in the most, is which one do you identify more with, right? And as you go on, you'll learn effective ways to work with people. But I think for yourself, you will, you'll find yourself being drawn to certain styles, because maybe you enjoy working with people, right? If you enjoy coaching people, training people, you're gonna go more in that direction. If you're more of a if you're more into laying out the path, and this is the path and there's no deviation, you're going to see that in the different types of leadership styles. So I get more of a persuasive, I guess you could say. So you'll read through the leadership styles and you'll kind of see ones you can identify with.
So I just did a quick Google search, and I think that's why you muted me. Sorry, I was typing. But I just typed, like, what kind of leader am I quiz? That's all I put into Google, and there are a lot of options. So maybe like back in the day when we had to wait to get the magazines for the quizzes at the back, there are plenty of quizzes out there online for you to check out on your leadership style.
All right, stop aging us.
I'm sorry.
Yes, the kids are gonna say on the back of a magazine. They want to quiz. What's a magazine? It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Yes. And so no, but that's a great thing. There are a lot of quizzes that are available to take, and I love the idea that choosing your leadership style is almost like choosing when you do your personality test as well. As I see a lot of people do those. I mean, they're really good tests to do, and I think that doing those tests, like, it kind of takes me into what our next question is going to be about. What role does emotional intelligence play in effective leadership? And if you've done a personality test, you'll see they talk about some parts being emotional intelligence. So I think that's a great segue into this question and how that emotional intelligence, or EQ, plays a role. How does it affect your leadership?
Yeah, so I'm glad to take it first, if
Please.
you'd like. Yeah. So I am really in tune with the emotional leadership because I'm a very emotional person, and I know that that's not one of my strong suits. I don't have a good poker face, so I have to make sure that I have myself, like, I am internally set and prepared and ready, and it does take a lot of practice to be able to do this. And it also takes experience, right? You have to fail forward. There's a wonderful book called Failing Forward, or Fail Forward, that talks about this. You're never going to get it right 100% of the time, but your emotional intelligence isn't saying that you're perfect. It's not saying that you handle every single situation 100% right every single time. It just means that you accept that you are human, things happen, and you're able to either check yourself in the moment before the crisis starts, or you're able to get out of it in a very healthy way with others. I always joke about, when everyone's like, oh, have a great day, or what's a great day to you? How do you have a great day? Or what's a bad day to you? How do you describe a bad day? And I always look at this as like, there's never a 100% good day. There's never a 100% bad day. There are moments, and it's fluid, and we're all going through this together. And I think this does kind of lean into my servant leadership of, like, just making sure you know where people are in the moment. And if you're going to be sucking the air out of the room in the meeting because you're going into it pretty hot and heavy and wanting to get things done, or you're going into it being curious, taking a step back, leveraging other people's realities, and really making sure that you're in tune with how emotions play roles in business decisions.
You definitely have to be in tune with your team. All right. So you spend all this time working with your colleagues and your team, and it's impossible not to have some sort of emotional link there, emotional intelligence. And also too, we have this thing we call work-life balance, right? So you cannot work 100% of the time, and you have to realize that everyone else can't do that either. It's not good for you. It's not healthy. You need an active personal life and a personal life. Sometimes when you're in projects and you've got deadlines, that's very hard to find. But again, you have to have some sense of empathy, right? For the teams you're working with, the people you're working with. Sometimes when we're working with people, they work halfway across the world, 10 hours ahead of us, right? So you have to always keep that in mind, who you're working with. And no, I mean, emotion is a big part of it especially when you're working with a group of people 10 plus years. You know them, you know their families, you know their kids. I mean, there is definitely emotion there, right? So, and that is definitely something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is right on. It's really the way I think about it. It's put yourself in everybody else's shoes just for a minute and think about how you would react if somebody said that to you or somebody pushed you a certain way. Um, if you spend a few minutes walking in somebody else's shoes, you might adjust the way you approach other people. Right? This isn't really complex stuff. Like your parents have been probably telling you that since you were a little kid, and it works in the business world the same way. Um, and I think it's important because, and as they said, you're not going to be perfect, right? I do this all the time. I'll go too hard at something, somebody will get upset, and you know what? I will realize that I went I went the wrong way, and I'll call that person privately and I'll apologize. And then I'll explain, right, what I was trying to accomplish and how they can help, right? And usually that diffuses the situation. So it's all is never lost. You're going to make mistakes. I think you fail fast and apologize a lot, and build relationships with people, because when you build relationships with people, they give you the benefit of the doubt, and you can accomplish so much more.
I love it. As we were talking, I was thinking about the term self awareness. And I think to tie in a lot of what you've all said so far, it's the self awareness, knowing where you are, knowing the moment that you're in, whether it's emotional, what emotional state that you're in at the moment before interacting with someone else. And then even if you're not aware of it, but like you said, Mike, understanding it after the fact and then taking action for that and trying to, rectify the situation, because most times it's not intentional, but when you do realize it and you become self-aware of certain things, then you need to take action right behind that, for that self-awareness. So that's what I was kind of hearing as a kind of a common thread through what everyone's saying so far. And so, Linda, I would love to give you an opportunity to respond as well.
Yeah, so I would actually also like highlight exactly what you just said, and even maybe a little bit stronger. I apologize, my camera's not working. I don't know what's going on, but especially starting out or just thinking about becoming a leader or are a first time leader, I think sometimes they're so focused on trying to be a leader and make everything work just the way to the right outcome, that it's easy to forget that human side. And really the very best leaders are the ones who understand the impact they're having on a group and even how people are responding, whether it may not have been their intent, how people took things and can in fact do exactly what Mike said, where you go back and if things didn't work smooth, you just take ownership for that and say, hey, let's work it out. It is so critical. I think it's probably one of the biggest impacts you have as a leader when somebody sees you as a human leader, own your actions, and you make sure that the actions you're taking have a positive effect on what the outcome is.
Agree so much. Yeah. Just so you all know, I'm learning some more stuff today too. So I love doing these sessions and having these conversations. And I think it adds to our emotional intelligence, being able to learn from others, how they've handled situations, different perspectives. And so to our viewers, I'm saying this to say, be open to what others are saying in certain spaces, even though it may not be exactly how you see it or exactly what you thought it was going to be, or exactly how you planned it out to be. Doesn't make it wrong, just that sometimes you have to adjust to the situation at hand. And that's really helpful, and even to back up to some of the other things we said with having opening lines of communication and understanding, the space in which the person is in as well when you're speaking with them. So when we talk about emotional intelligence, and the effect that it has on your leadership role, in my opinion, it has a major effect on your leadership role, because it's the idea that you're able to not only understand yourself, but understand those that you're working with as well, and be able to navigate that space in a way that's emotionally intelligent, comes across in a good way, in a positive way. And so with that, we want to talk about, now that we talked about kind of that emotional leadership side, I'm going to kind of pivot a little bit, and we're going to talk about what's the importance of the ethical leadership in today's world. So we've got emotional intelligence. We know the different leadership styles. We know how to identify those styles, but what's the ethical side of it?
That's a big one for, I think, for the people on the phone here. With us working in healthcare and with us working with patient information, I don't know if the group has heard about, HIPAA rules, HIPAA guidelines, basically privacy. Privacy is
So I can
very
kick
big. You
this
hear
one.
about.
I just
You, oh, go ahead, Linda. Was that Linda? Um, okay. All right. I got it. So ethics in healthcare is very important. You'll hear about breaches all the time. You hear about, you hear about privacy breaches, phishing, things of that nature. So it's very crucial for us to be extremely ethical. Any types of fraud activity, we have obligations to our clients and who we serve to ensure their information is secure and protected. And we only use it to the extent that it should be used, which they call a minimum necessary. So we are contractually, bound by some of those exact things, is to make sure that we are abiding. And if we see, anything going on that's, not up to par, we have ways to report that. Any privacy, issues do occur.
So the way I would frame this, when you start talking about ethics, right? What I consider ethical and what you consider ethical may be different, right? But I always use a simple test. I tell people you need to do the right thing. You need to do it for the right reason. If you do that, the vast majority of the time, you're going to be thinking about the right things to make the right decisions. And that's one of the challenges that leaders have, is that they have to make hard decisions. Sometimes those hard decisions, there might be an easy decision, but it's not ethical. And I think there's a couple important things, and I think, Elizabeth, you were talking about this in your transition. Like, I think, you really, as a leader, the best advice I've probably ever gotten as a leader is listen more and talk less, right? listen to your stakeholders, listen to your constituents, listen to the people around you, right? Use their inputs to formulate your point of view and the ultimate decision that perhaps you have to make. And never compromise integrity, right? Integrity is simply doing the right thing for the right reason. That's it. If you focus on that, you're gonna, 99.9% of the time, you're gonna make the right ethical decision.
Yeah, and sometimes I love that, Mike. Thank you for sharing that. I like that. I'm going to use that. I think I like to look at it more of at the company wide level. I like to look at it at the organization and how the organization is teaching us and expecting us to live within the ethics for the organization. Working with EXL for me is my first time working for a for-profit, large, like traded company. And I was blown away with excitement. Okay, excitement. This, you got to realize who you're talking to. That I had so much training and onboarding when I started the company. It took about 2 weeks of, I just thought I got through the training and another one would slide in. They're making sure that we have the aptitude to act ethically to match the company. Yes, it's up to us individually to stay ethical or be ethical and live our lives with integrity. But we have to also follow our company and what's the company saying. And if the company matches with your values and your views of integrity, then keep going. And then you can feel like you're supported by your leadership. And I'd love to hear what Linda has to say, because I feel like this is definitely an HR question. And I wanted to just go there for the company to be, make sure you're working for a company that is an ethical company and matching with your values. Because if your company's not matching with your values, they're hanging out to dry. You have the individual power and authority to not engage with unethical companies.
Yeah, and I think it's important to call out, like, most companies, large companies, will have an ethics policy, and one of your jobs as a leader in that company. First of all, you have to make sure that your personal values are aligned to the company's. If they're not, then it might not be the right fit. You might want to look elsewhere. Um, but if they are, then you become the standard bearer, right? It's part of your job as a leader is to um, demonstrate those values, right, to everybody in the organization. So you're
And
it's
as I
almost
go
like you're
back to
always
what
being
Mike said
watched.
earlier about leadership in general, is you're not a leader unless you have people following. And if people do not believe that you value and rely on ethics to do things in an ethical way, they are not going to follow you. It will be the quickest way you find that people stop following a leader, because nobody wants to be associated in a scenario where they feel like things are not done in an ethical way.
Yeah, nobody trusts people that they view as being low integrity. It's just
Yeah.
that simple.
I love it.
And sometimes they get annoyed with us that have high integrity because we ask too many questions and push back.
Yes. And so what I really appreciate about this conversation is that it was more than just the ethicalness of the leader, but also looking at the company that you're working for. And I think that is something that our viewers definitely benefit from, knowing that, you want to make sure that the company that you're working with, that you're being a leader in and for, is one that aligns with you and who you are, your personal ethical level and things of that nature. So it's not just one-sided. It's not just you and the ethical level that you're on, but also the company that you work for. So thank you for bringing that out. I think that's a great point for our youth to remember when they're starting out. Whether it's your first job or your 10th job, you still want to check that ethical portion of the company that you're getting ready to work for. And so, with that, I would love to talk about this last topic, and we're going to talk about how can a student lead with empathy and compassion.
Be nice to yourself first. Be
I
nice
like
to
that.
yourself first. You're your own worst critic, and like you're in your head, and whatever voice you have, like you just got to make sure that you're challenging that voice. And as Mike said, like you start living the life, and then it just starts coming out, and others are seeing it. Just be nice to yourself first. That's what I would say.
Yeah,
I'd say work hard, play hard, right? So you work hard. Uh, my team goes by this motto: we work hard and we have fun, right? So because you will end up working more with people on your team than you see your families in one point in time. You're not there yet, but eventually there won't be any more summer breaks and spring breaks and all that fun stuff. But yeah, work hard, play hard, enjoy what you do. You know, if you generally enjoy what you do, then that passion will show, and with that comes, you know, compassion for your team. So that's what I can say.
yeah. So I would say number one, always assume positive intent, right? Don't assume everybody's out to get you or something negative is going on. Assume positive intent and recognize that other individuals, they may be going through something that you don't know about. Okay. And you think about that, like if they're going through something in their personal life, um, and you sort of take some things out on them, you're going to regret it later when you find out why they were struggling with something, right? So just always assume that they're doing the best they can, figure out how you can help them do better, or you know, build that relationship with them so they trust you enough to share, what they're struggling with so that you can help them more.
Yeah. And Linda, do you also want to share with us about how a student can lead with empathy and compassion? We may have lost her audio.
She's cutting in and out.
Yeah, it's okay. So before we wrap up this session, our panel side, I want to say thank you all for participating in our panel. It's been a great conversation. I know that our viewers are going to take away some great information. And so now we're going to do something a little different. We are going to flip it to ask some questions that are not based on career and things of that nature, but does help us and our viewers kind of get a better understanding of people in these roles in leadership, and I think that this is great because oftentimes we can get into a space where we view the leaders as almost untouchable, like you said, that they're not human. They are kind of like these robots that are doing the job, but there is a human side to all of us. And I always feel like these questions really helped for people to really kind of get to know us and know what that looks like. So I'm going to start off with just a simple question anyone can answer. And the question is, what's your favorite way to spend a rainy day? No wrong answer.
On the couch, away from my computer. On the couch, away from my computer, with a good movie with my family.
So I tend to be the one that takes the dog out when it's a rainy day. So I enjoy finding new ways to get him to run outside and be excited with me for his breaks outside. So just get the boots on and run out. I live in Maine, so it's not really, it's not too bad on rainy days, unless it's the middle of winter and then it's cold.
Right.
Yeah, and I would say I like to I use those as an opportunity to do work inside my house. There's always something that needs to be done, so I try to use the rainy days when I can't be outside to do things on the inside.
Oh, love it. So I myself am a hang out, kind of like relax, chill, watch a movie, don't want to do anything. It's like it's raining outside. Why are we working? That's kind of my take on it for rainy days, which is really interesting because I live in Florida and in the summertime it rains like every day. So there's always a period in the day where I'm like, I don't want to do anything right now. It doesn't always work that way, but it's definitely a thought. All right. And so for our next question, if you were stranded on a deserted island and only could bring three things, what would they be?
A reverse osmosis machine so that I can have some drinking water. Got to one.
That's very practical.
Yeah, a companion, so I'm not alone. Maybe, a volleyball.
Wilson.
Wilson. And then the third, I'm going to need some protection from the sun because I'm a very fair burn person. So I don't think sunblock's going to cut it. So I'll probably need some type of like UV clothing.
Love it.
Oh, that's great. I'd say matches, a knife, and rope.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking Survivor here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all very practical, but like food, right? I think we need food. You're not going to last long without food and water.
Go like spear fishing.
And the implements to catch more food, I guess. So
Yeah.
we're all very practical. Sorry, that I'm not sure these were the exciting answers you were looking for.
I would definitely take some food because I don't eat seafood, so fishing is not going to work for me. I have to take something else. And I'm going to take a satellite phone.
Oh, yeah.
Communication. There it is.
I would take a satellite phone, and I got that from Jurassic Park because I think they had their satellite phone. That's how they got off the island. I'm like, that's a really good idea. So since I could take anything, I'm definitely taking that. So someone can come and get me. So these are just fun questions that we ask our panelists. Just kind of makes us laugh thinking about like what really would we take on a deserted island. It's like if we would have placed you in a corporate setting or a boardroom and like go, it's like you got everything lined up, but then it's like a deserted island. I have no idea what I want to take, right? And so we love doing these questions just to kind of get, a real feel for, just the idea that, especially for our viewers, like, yes, we are in these positions and we do these different jobs and we have this experience and we have this knowledge. We don't ever want you all to forget that we are human. We are people. We are, growing and learning every day. We are making different decisions every day. We all decided we'd take something different to a deserted island. But I think if we all got together on the same deserted island, we'd be okay. We'd be okay for a while. So these questions are just that. And so as we wrap up today's session, definitely want to thank all of our panelists for coming out. And we're going to end off with this last question. And it's going to be, what final advice do you have for students aspiring to be a leader?
Stay humble.
Learn as much as you can about what you want to do, and become proficient at it, and the leadership will come.
Yeah, and I would say I said it before, but listen more than you talk. Sometimes we think leaders have to know everything. They don't.
That is very true. Definitely do not know everything. I always tell people I'm still learning. I am a lifelong learner. I love to learn, and I think if you're the type of person that really likes to learn new things about the space you're in, learn new things about things you don't know, things you do know, and just consistently continue to learn, you'll find yourself in those positions easily because you'll be the one wanting to learn, and once you learn, you'll know it, and that gives you that experience that's needed when it's time to go in those leadership roles, and you'll have it. And it'll just be simply because you are open to learning. And so my advice to all of us, our viewers, is to keep learning. Just keep learning. Don't ever think you know everything. There's always something more to learn, especially in leadership. You will find out that you don't know everything. And I like to tell people my son teaches me something new every day. He's 15, and every day he teaches me something new. And so, if nothing else, he's going to keep me a lifelong learner. But it's good because that allows me to know how to navigate in my leadership role as his mother. And so, take that into consideration when you are in these roles, that people will help you learn. And so that's a good thing. So thank you all for coming out. We want to thank our lovely panelists for taking their time out today to be a part of our Career Lounge session. And thank you to our viewers for joining us. We hope that today's session, or conversation, as I like to call it, has given you insight on and clarity on making plans for life after high school. Because there is life after high school. We know high school is a big part of life, but there is life after high school, and we want to help you all and make sure you all are prepared for it as best as possible. And so we're trying to help you all get together with the planning part of that. So that's what EXL does. I'm sorry, that's what our Career Lounge session does. But we are going to thank our Career Lounge session sponsor, EXL. They are, as we said before, a leading data analytics and digital operations and solution company. And as you heard here today, there's so much to EXL that we've learned some new parts of EXL today as well. And so we hope that you did too. But if you want to learn more about EXL, please join them on their website at www.exlservice.com. And thanks to their sponsorship, we were able to bring this lounge to you at no cost. So thank you so much, EXL, for your amazing sponsorship. And we look forward to seeing you at the next Career Lounge session. At that session, you'll hear more about our wonderful topics. If you missed any topics, please join us on our YouTube and make sure that you go to our playlist to watch all of the topics. If you missed any topics, I definitely encourage you to go back and watch the topics. We've had some great and exciting conversations here for all of our viewers. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment and share this and future sessions with your friends. Don't keep all the knowledge and wealth to yourself. Please share. But thank you all for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you at our next Career Lounge session. Bye, everyone.